you'll get to a place where the level that you were at, you've been there and you've done that. And therefore, there is no growth there. There is no room to stretch there. And so God is saying, you've graduated this level. For you to stay here, you would be stunting your own growth. What's good, y'all? This is Essence China. Welcome back to another episode. We are going to be talking about 4 ways that I learned to embrace my purpose. Why I say embrace is because many times when we've been shown what it is, we now have to agree to walk into it. And that can be a little bit challenging because to walk into it means that we actually have to grow up. We have to stretch out because the vision and the purpose is greater than we've seen for ourselves. There's shoes that we don't even know if we can feel. And so we have to learn how to embrace purpose because it's not going to be as easy as just, you know what I'm saying, walking into it. But there are things that I believe that God will do and show you that will help you to embrace it. Even though you may need more courage, even though you may need more faith, I believe that he'll come along the way. And I can share some stories from that. And so let's get into the first point. I think the first point for me that helped me to embrace purpose was the confirmation. I believe that God will speak words, that he will drop seeds in your heart, whether it's through a dream, whether it's through somebody speaking into your life, whether it's through you just feeling connected to something and you don't even know why, but there's just this deep sense of connection. And so for me, the confirmation came through prophetic words that had been spoken over my life. So my father was just very much prophetic. And so he would tell me things about my future. I mean, years and decades in advance. I didn't understand how he knew these things. And they all came to be very true. But my father, he happened to know me by the Spirit. And so he would tell me, you know, you're going to be teaching, you're going to have a school, you're going to be a great speaker. And I'd be like, Daddy, like, what are you talking about? Because I didn't know these things about myself. But again, if you watch any of my videos, you'll recognize that there are things that people observe about you that you may not be aware of. And so, yes, my father knew me as my father, but he also knew me by the Spirit. And there were things that he even knew about himself. And I think that when you come from a family who is very gifted in a particular way, there are also certain things that they may know about you just because it's in the family lineage, right? And so when it came to me being a speaker, I highly rejected it. See, we're talking about embracing purpose. I highly rejected being a speaker because I, number one, didn't think I had anything to say. Right. And then number 2, I was just like, I saw myself as who I had always been. And some of you are only seeing yourself from the lens of who you've always been and not who you can be or your potential. And that is a very disastrous thing to do because you don't know who you are. We don't even know, like, how do we think that we know what our capacity is when we didn't even make ourselves? So in order for us to know our capacity, we have to know who actually created us and help us to find out, like, okay, Lord, what are you saying about my life now? And so for me, those confirming words helped me to embrace my purpose because when I started to see that those doors started to open up, I'm like, oh my goodness, these things are actually happening that I had already heard from previous. And so that was the first point that helped me to really start to embrace it, is that this wasn't new to me. God had been speaking this. And so now I'm catching up to the revelation of the word. The second reason that helped me to embrace purpose, a new level of purpose, was I was so tired of being stuck. I think what we don't understand is that I believe that life is about graduation and it's about elevation. And so as we grow in years, in age, there's going to be a higher requirement and a higher demand on our greatness. And so you'll get to a place where the level that you were at, you've been there and you've done that. And therefore, there is no growth there. There is no room to stretch there. And so God is saying, you've graduated this level. For you to stay here, you would be stunting your own growth. And there is a point in time where we're charged to stand up and walk into the new season where we have room to stretch. Or because we outgrow that season, we have to now condense ourselves down and crawl around because there's no room for you there. And I have conditioned my mind that I would rather fall than to crawl. What do I mean by that? I would rather try to stand up in this new season with the potential and sometimes the certainty that I will fall than to crawl in an old season. Because at least when I at least stand up and fall, I'm going to learn something. And so some of us, we're so unwilling to fall that we're not in a place where we can even grow. But I got to a place that I felt so stagnated. I felt like I was going in circles. I felt like there was no room here. There was no room for me to grow and to stretch. And I said, Lord, I can't do this anymore. So I was almost forced into embracing a new level of purpose because I was tired of being stagnant. And so for many of you who are feeling like you're going in circles, I believe that those circles are only just an indication that it's time for you to go to greater. Think about it. The children of Israel went in circles for 40 years. They weren't supposed to be there for that long. But their unwillingness to believe, their unwillingness to embrace a new level kept them in a circle. And so my decision to not want to be stagnant was another reason that caused me to embrace a new level of purpose. The fourth thing is for fulfillment and joy. Think about it. When you're stagnated, you are not happy. You are miserable. You're over it. You're frustrated. But the antithesis of that is when you step into this new found sense of purpose, there is so much fulfillment and joy there because you've been created for it. There is like such a harmonious feeling about it because you're not just doing something that for money. You're not just doing things because it's a good idea. No, you're doing it because it's literally aligned with who he created and designed you to be. And so because of that, it's like the bird. You see how graceful a bird will fly? Like they are in their element. So yeah, maybe for a baby bird, their first time flying was fearful. Like it was scary. Like what? You want me to like? I have not flown before, even though flying is in my DNA. I don't know that. I'm not even aware of this. But after you get into your element, there's so much fulfillment and joy there. And so though this may be a new territory for you, please understand that if this is what you were created to do, if this is what you were made for, there's going to be so much joy and fulfillment and just a sense of harmony there because it was what you were created to do. And so that was another reason that every time I started doing something, let's just talk about speaking in this sense. Every time I started to speak, I felt like I was flying. I felt like I was alive. I felt like this is it. Now, some of the story that I haven't told you is that I went to nursing school. Before I opened my first salon, I went to nursing school. And I went to nursing school because my mother was a nurse and my mother seen that as a stable career. And she wanted me to, go down a path that was, stable, obviously. But God was telling me something different. But all the while I was fighting this case that I kind of speak about where I fought the State Board of Cosmetology and won, but while I was going through this case, I'm young and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do what my mom is advising. And I went ahead and went to nursing school. But while I was in nursing school, it was like, yeah, I can do this. But I don't really feel created to do this. I graduate, I get my license, I start working as a nurse at a lockdown facility. I'm passing meds to kids. They are zombied out. And I'm like, this job is for somebody, but it's not for me. Like I did not feel aligned. And every time I got a chance to come home and do hair, I was like, this is it. I feel so free here. And so in every step of my journey where God was shifting me and moving me into a new place of purpose, I'm telling you, I felt the same thing. It was like, this is it. I'm a little scared, but this is it. And so there's a level of fulfillment and joy there. And even now, as I speak and I'm able to empower people, like I can't tell you how much joy I get from that. And I believe that as you begin to embrace purpose, you'll recognize that there's so much joy and fulfillment there. All right. So point number 4 of what helped me to embrace purpose. It was the impact that I was making. And every piece and every part of my story and every part of my journey, every part of my purpose, it was fulfilling because it was just naturally fulfilling who I am, but it was also fulfilling because of the impact I was making and the feedback I was getting and the lives that were changing. And what we don't understand is that purpose is not just for us, it is for others. And so as we begin to walk in who we've been created to be naturally, authentically, this now begins to help the people we are called to. And the impact is so grand, it's so great. And so I always tell people, what would happen if the person who has most inspired you never embraced their purpose? Who would you be? I can name on my hand probably 2 to 3 people that if they had not embraced their purpose, I don't know where I would be. And we don't even think that that could be the same story, and probably will be the same story for you, that somebody will be like, if that person didn't stand up, if that person didn't obey, if that person didn't get aligned, if that person did not embrace their purpose, I don't know where I would be. We don't recognize that as we walk in the things that God has called us to do, how it is naturally liberating others. It could be by direct or indirect just contact with them. It could just be like, man, I see what she's doing and she inspires me to do what I've been called to do. Or directly where it is whatever you're doing is literally blessing that person. And so we don't realize when we hoard our gifts, when we walk in fear, when we walk in doubt of who God has called us to be, or unbelief, it's a selfish position, because at some point we have to get over ourselves. I say, who would I be to be holding back my gifts because of my own insecurity? They're gifts. They're made for giving. So there is an impact that you were called to make. And I don't care who it is that's watching this video. You might be like, I don't know about me. I don't, because you need to still learn your significance in this world. Everything has purpose. And so therefore, when you start to get an awareness of who you are, the significance and the the essentialism of you being here and how we are to cooperate, I think it'll change your world. So those are my 4 points today. Make sure that you take them into consideration. And just to recap, first, ask God to bring you confirmation. He'll bring it in his own unique way to you based on how he's created you to receive his words. And then you're going to get to a place where you're going to get tired of being where you're at. And that will drive you to find out, okay, I need to start embracing this. Number 3 would be recognizing that there's so much fulfillment and joy there. And number 4 is because of the impact that you are called to make. I really hope that you all take the next step in embracing your purpose. If you're looking for any type of coaching, I do have my Rare program where I help people to find out what it is that they've been called to do. Specifically, if you've been called to use your voice, I want to help you. Thank you for watching this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode.